Welcome to another episode of the Edmonds Mom's Room podcast. I am Dr. Allison Felt, owner of Body Motion Physical Therapy. And today I am so delighted to have Falesha you have so many titles, I don't know where to start, but you own Philippe Performance.
Yes.
You were a college athlete and Olympian or almost Olympian.
Olympic trial.
Olympic
Yeah.
trials. Okay. And you work for the Foster School of Business at the UW.
Yes.
So I'm sure I'm missing some things. You're also a mom to a beautiful daughter, Kalia.
Yes.
And so I'm excited to chat with you, learn about you and your passion and really how you do it all and still take care of yourself. Really, I think it's amazing.
It's a lot. I know as you start to read through my titles, I'm like, oh, I do a lot.
And your YouTube channel, like that's on my list.
Oh, yeah. I like to stay busy.
Yeah, apparently. So tell me a little bit about you, if you don't mind.
Yeah, like where do I start? So my background, I guess I started as an athlete. So I ran track at the University of Washington, and that's where I ran the hurdles, and a lot of just like my love for my body and being an athlete started there. And I learned so many lessons with just being an athlete in itself. And that really sparked my interest to want to get into youth performance and training. So I did go professional. I ran for Brooks Running and I missed the Olympic trials by a handful of spots in 2012. But I knew I still had that like drive in me to like want to do something in this realm. And so I started Fleet Performance probably about 4 years later. And I work with youth athletes. And I just love the idea of being able to work with them at that young age when you're building, self-confidence, when you're talking about all the different things that you learn with being an athlete. It's not always about winning. There's so many things you learn within being an athlete in competition. So that is kind of like my passion area. I do work at the Foster School of Business, so I do fundraising. So it's kind of this nice balance because I work with a lot of older donors, like 50 plus. And then when I close that door, I come home and I work with my youth athletes. They're anywhere from like 8 to 18. So the balance, it just keeps me young.
Yeah.
And then I'm a new mom to my daughter, Kalia, and she was born with a rare genetic disorder called Pfeiffer syndrome. So I'm a medical mom, and that's what my YouTube channel is all about, just bringing awareness to a different perspective. I think that, we are in this social media world where when I first became pregnant, I thought we're going to do the matching outfits, we're going to do the cute milestone photos, all of that. And I found out that she was going to have Pfeiffer syndrome, which is pretty much fusion of her skull, about 2 weeks before delivery. And it really rocked my world. And a lot of it was just like this unknown and doing a lot of research, but realizing so many parents and friends had never heard of it. So I share her story to bring awareness to Pfeiffer syndrome and to facial differences, because that's one part of her syndrome is, her face looks different than others. And because she has like small pockets for eyes, there's a handful of things, but that I feel like has been a purpose of mine. And I think for all of us, like every chapter in life, you kind of feel like you're being pulled somewhere. And that's kind of where I am in this chapter. I still train, I still work, but I definitely feel like I was selected to be her mom for a reason. And I'm trying to fulfill that.
Oh,
so that's all of me in a nutshell.
Yeah. I want to go deeper on so many things,
Yeah.
but let's stick with Callie. You call her Callie.
I
Okay.
do call her Callie.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, let's stick with Callie. So she requires how much care and, from a medical standpoint, and how do you manage it all?
Yes. So she requires a lot of medical care. And one big thing for her is that because of the fusion, she's got a very small airway. So she has a trach. And I think a lot of people know about trach and ventilators right now because of COVID. But that in itself, being a baby with a trach and a ventilator during a pandemic where the symptom is respiratory issues, there's been issues with just getting her supplies. So there's been a lot of like obstacles we've been overcoming, but she has nurses. So she has day nurse and a night nurse, and we get about 20 hours of support. And so they're part of our family, and they're here every day working with her, helping her hit milestones, but also making sure medically she's fine. And so they are a big part of why I'm able to still continue to be me and continue to do some of the things I love, is because I know she's got great support And I think the silver lining of, working from home right now is I'm right down the hallway.
That's
So
nice.
I can be very hands-on. I can take these 15-minute breaks, every other hour and go walk in a room and hang out. And I can learn a lot from the nurses as well.
Yeah. Do a lot of parents reach out to you with kids with Pfeiffer syndrome? Have you been like kind of a shining light for them?
Yeah, and I think it happens for every parent. So I reached out to a lot of parents who their kids were 2 or 3 or 10. And there was a handful that live in our neighborhood. I shouldn't say neighborhood, but in the state of Washington, that we have a great network. But I realized by sharing my story that I have been that person for those who find out in the midst of their pregnancy. And that's what I get a lot of. So not those moms who, their kids are older, but for those who just have been hit with a diagnosis and saying that, my kid's, I'm 20 weeks, I'm 30 weeks, and she's going to have, or he is going to have craniosynostosis or Pfeiffer syndrome. Those parents have reached out to me, and it's touched my heart because it has made me realize I'm on the right path, and to be able to share with them of like how I was feeling those moments, and feel all those emotions. I always say, just don't drown in them, because it will get better. So I've definitely been trying to be a resource for new parents.
Yeah, I just can't imagine the light that you bring in such a dark time for people that, can go down those holes. So that's really cool that you can be that, and your YouTube channel is that for sure. And just like also seeing Callie's progress, I feel like
My goodness.
documenting that. I mean, obviously I'm a physical therapist, right? So like I love like
Yes.
seeing like the milestones and like it just warms my heart. I could cry right now. And so like I mean, you kind of provide that for other parents and like that's hope, you know?
Yeah. And like speaking of PT and everything, like they always say that it takes a village to raise a child. And our village just looks a little different. Our village is her parents and her family, but also her nurses, her doctors, her surgeons, and her therapists. Like that is our village to get her to every level. And that's why I try to like do the vlogs and kind of show a day in the life of Callie so they can see, oh wow, her nurses are hands-on. Oh wow, she does have support. And so one of the amazing opportunities that we have in resources is Birth to Three program. And she gets physical therapy and speech therapy through that. And they work with her on just her body. Like, and I really strongly feel like they're such a big reason why she's hitting those milestones. And then also early on, our doctor said, yes, she has Pfeiffer syndrome, but she also has your DNA, your husband's DNA. And that right there does not have to put her in a box, because this kid might not be able to sit or walk, or this kid needs a trach. And so I think you get in this comparison of, okay, there's type 1, 2, and 3 of Pfeiffer syndrome. But in reality, there's like this hybrid of every kid is so different. And so when I found out that she was going to need a trach, I'm like, oh my goodness, she gets put in this box. And it's like, oh, she has a trach and this kid doesn't have a trach, but Callie's sitting, this kid might be sitting. So there's just so much to it. But I feel like she has the resilience of me and my husband, and then like my athleticism. I'm like, okay, that's me. Those strong legs, that's me.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
like, I'm
That's
owning that.
totally what I'm sitting here thinking. Yep.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
awesome.
like, that's the athlete in her. But yeah, so it's
Yes.
been fun, like you said, the milestone videos, to
Mhm.
see her every month kind of hit those milestones and make progress. And we're just like, every time I see her, I'm just reminded like she's capable of so many things. Like I'm never gonna put like a low bar for her. I'm just like, let her do what she does, and she just we're all watching her like, oh, okay. And she's funny. She'll, for instance, we've been trying to get her to sit up without assistance back in like December. She'd do it for 30 seconds here, a minute here. And then all of a sudden one day, 30 minutes. And I'm like, that was always in you. I
Yes.
knew.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. So how much therapy does she get a week? I know she gets speech and PT, but
Yeah, so she was doing really well, and we have nurses that are really hands-on. So we do it every other week,
nice.
and it's for an hour.
Cool.
And then the therapist gives us homework. So for instance, speech therapy, we're really working on flavors because she eats through a G tube in her stomach. So the homework is once a day, allow her to taste something different. So she's on blackberry jam right now. She loves.
Nice.
um, for PT, we are working on like balance and grip. And so we're working on like having her sit up in this chair and have that support, but she'll push off the ground and push off the sides to stand up, and doing some practice with that. So we do that every other day. So, which is nice to kind of have that homework. And what's been really nice is that this past month they've been coming in our home. So it was virtually. So it was
Oh,
very hands-on. It was
yeah.
myself, the nurse, Callie, and then Zooming and like trying to put her in all these positions. And now that both therapists can come in our homes, they can do it. And I feel like it's been really great to see her kind of progress faster now.
Yeah, yeah, that's fantastic. Oh, so cool. Okay, so in my opinion, I mean, I'm a mom of two. 20 hours a week isn't that much help. So how do you do it? Like, I mean, is your husband at home? Does he work? Like, how, like, that's not, I know it's a ton of, I'm so glad you're grateful for it, like all that stuff. But like
Yeah.
in reality, there's so many more hours, you know?
Right, right.
So,
It takes me and my husband's name is Rome, communicating. And we will say, like, for instance, like this week, he's got a big event. He works at Microsoft and he works from home. And he's like, I'm all hands on deck this week. And so I know before this week started, all right, there's only a few different things I'm probably going to be able to get done for myself, but come that next week, it's my week. And so we trade off like that, knowing that it's not always going to be 50-50 every day. Sometimes it's going to be 100% me or 100% him, and we're totally fine with that, knowing that we're a team. And so that partnership has been really key for us, and it's communicating kind of like what our goals are. And I know that I'm not always going to be the best like mom, wife, cook, employee, all of that at the same time, but I'm going to give my best effort. And I think others note that too.
yeah. So what do you do for self-care?
Ooh, self-care. So I've been on this, like, I'm trying to work out more. And
Okay.
like that is like my me time.
Mhm.
So just making sure I'm taking care of my body. So between like I have a Peloton right now. So
Nice.
I've been all about that, working out, spinning, and then um just like facials and me time reading
Love
a
it.
book. I think when you become a parent, you start to realize like you enjoy the little things, like uninterrupted, like just time, like knowing that I have an hour that I can like catch up on a book or catch up on a show.
For sure.
Like I
Yeah.
just soak in that, going out for walks, sometimes just solo. I think that, right now, like we are working from home, living from home, we're all like, we just never get away from our space, our home. And
Mhm.
so me just getting outside, getting some fresh air, whether it be with Callie and the nurse or myself, has been my chance to kind of tap in. I've been doing meditation and yoga, things like that.
Nice. Awesome. Oh, that's good to hear. You're impressive because I mean, it's one thing to balance that, but like also to have, have like a whole nother role of just you're a medical professional. Like, and I remember Devin is my admin. She's the one who set us up here. And she's like, I thought you like were a doctor or a nurse, just like with how much like time that you
Oh,
spent, you spend with Callie and like you're so good. And obviously it's like the art of being a mom, but you just
mm,
like you are a medical mom. That's such a good way to put it. So
yeah.
tell me, if you don't mind going here, tell me where your business fits into this. Like,
Yeah. So I feel like it's kind of taken a back seat out of all the things going on right now, and I've been easing my way back into it because so much of my time, as you share, like I am a medical mom, and I do feel like I have like a nursing degree, which I don't, but I feel like I know a lot of it because I had to be so hands-on to be her advocate and speak up and ask the right questions. So that consumed a lot of my time, is making sure that Callie was good. And once she got to a point where I was like, wow, she's thriving, she's hitting milestones, the doctors are really impressed and happy, now I can get back to myself and some things that I love. So I've been training a lot more these last probably like 4 or 5 months, and more part-time, but it's kind of like a form of self-care for me. It like refreshes me, and I just feel like it's so big to kind of support that next generation. So I've been doing a lot with like some of my soccer athletes and softball athletes in training, smaller groups, because also, COVID right now. So I have to be very careful. I used to do a lot of team settings. So working at, one field and having 15 athletes come in at a time and cycle through them. And now like that kind of setting doesn't work for me. And I want to be really careful for Callie. So I do more like one or two athletes at a time and mass 6 feet apart. So I've been trying to be careful with that. But yeah, that's kind of how it's like fitting in my schedule right now, I feel like.
Well, I think you're saving those parents too, because they're probably just dying for their kids to get training again, and same
I've
with the
been getting
kids.
some messages
Yeah.
like, "Are you training yet? Are you going to be outside?" I'm like, "Yeah, but like, you're a mom. It's like priorities,
Yeah.
and that was number 2 priority before, and now it's
Yeah.
like number 4." And so I'm thankful that a lot of the families I'm working with and parents, they know what's going on in my personal life. And so they've been very flexible. And
Awesome.
so I've been able to set schedules around like what we have going on. But, for instance, like we might have a day where we don't have nurses. So I'm thankful for 20 because we've had days where we've had 0 or 8. And I know how hard it's been to juggle. And so then I have to text that parent and say, I can't. I can't get outside and come train your kid. I just can't right now. This needs my attention. And so being able to have that flexibility has been key for me.
Yeah, that's great. And that's cool to hear. So you don't just train track athletes. I think I was under.
No,
Okay.
yeah. And so I started off with track and I
Yeah.
started off with like coaching high school track. And then I realized that speed and running is in so many sports.
Yeah.
It's in football, it's in softball, it's in lacrosse. And I started to realize that how great would that be to take one thing I'm really good at is running and form and speed mechanics and take that into other sports. And I saw it as like a solution to some problems. I was having coaches say, "Can you come in and teach some speed and agility?" And I'm just like, "Oh wow, like I don't know anything about soccer." And that's kind of how I was like 5 years ago. And they're like, "No, but running mechanics, that's all we want." And I'm like, "Oh, there's a business here." So I started that and just working with clubs and pitching myself. And I honestly I've done some speed camps for track athletes, but track is just a different sport where if I was to train a track athlete, they usually have a high school coach, a club coach, and then here I come. And so all the coaches are kind of competing but clashing. Whereas a soccer coach is like, I know drills and soccer, I don't know speed, have at it. And so I have the freedom and I'm not clashing with anyone. So I realized like if I was going to do track, I'd have to be like a high school coach or a club coach. Whereas if I'm a speed and agility coach with all these other sports, I have that flexibility to be like a private coach.
That's awesome. So are you taking new clients right now, or are you waitlisted for that?
I'm taking clients that I've already been working with and
Okay.
I'm trying to do them in kind of cycles. I've had some new parents reach out and I haven't taken on like new clients, but pre-existing ones I've tried to fit into my schedule.
Nice. Okay. That's great. Um, cool. Thank you for sharing that. I
Yeah,
want to get back. If you don't mind, I want to get back to Callie and like your family a little bit. Did I see that you guys have a vacation coming up?
we
Okay.
do.
Tell
Yeah,
me
we're
about
going to
this.
San Diego
Okay.
and it's going to take a whole lot of like planning. It's a first trip for us to like take our
Nice.
daughter on a plane,
Yeah.
and deal with everything that comes with it. But we're really looking forward to it. And, we've had doctors share that they encourage parents to travel and to get out and to experience like the world
Yeah.
and just thinking that because your daughter might have a vent or a trach doesn't mean you have to limit. You just modify something. So
Yeah.
we're excited to get her out on plane and just do some fun things. So
Cool.
we're looking forward to it.
So is it you, your husband, and Callie?
And 2 nurses. So
And
we
two
can,
nurses. Okay.
yeah, so that's another thing. You can't go anywhere without your nurses.
Yeah.
So we have to also cover them to come too. So we're
Yeah.
all we're all going as a big fam.
Nice. Oh, that's
Yeah.
so cool. Okay, I'm excited to see how that goes and all that stuff. It seems
Yeah.
like you guys do get out and like are able to, explore. And I saw you guys went to the Point Defiance Zoo. So I'm just stalking
Yeah.
you a little bit, but it's okay.
No, and that's kind of what I want. Like I want to share that because I feel
Yeah.
like I've had so many parents who have said they're scared to do that because
Yeah.
it takes a lot of work and a lot of planning. You have to make sure you have everything in their emergency bag and everything's prepped. And so as much planning as it takes, it's so worth it. And so I just like it's good for her to see things like that too. Like she
Yeah.
was just waving at the elephants and the monkeys, and I was just like, okay, all the planning it took to get here, you smiling and waving made it just that much worth it. So we try to get out and experience life as much as possible.
Yeah, that's so cool. Because I mean, when you say it and like all the work that goes into it, I think a lot of parents are sitting there thinking like, that is so much energy. I can't do that. So
Mhm.
how do you get your energy? Like, where does this come from? Like you,
That's for
you know what I mean? I
yeah.
was asking you about self-care, but I don't think that did it justice. I want to know, like, where does this Falesha energy come from? Like,
I think
how do
it's
you
a
have that
part.
mojo?
Yeah, I think it's just a part of like who I am. And I get it from my dad. He's like on the go. Like he retired at like 59 and he has not stopped. Like he's got to be out the house. He's got to be like going somewhere. And my husband is a homebody. Like he would love nothing more. Like pandemic has been great for him because he's like, what? We have to be in the house? Yes. And I'm like going crazy, like, wait, what? We can't go outside. And so getting out is like I'm an extrovert. So it's how I like refuel myself. Being alone for too long is like I start to get into my thoughts and it's like I start to just be like, okay, I'm tired. But like getting out and then being able to look at the pictures and just enjoy that, like I love that. So I feel like that it's just a part of who I am. I wish I had a better answer. Like
Yeah.
like I take some kind of drink and it just gets me fired up or something.
No, or maybe it has to do with like you just having clarity for your passion and like how you want Kalia to grow up. I don't know. But I mean, I like when you figure that out, let me know. Cause I feel like
Right?
that's what like it's such a gift to have that because that's what parents almost like, when you get into that like drained, this can be if you
Mm-hmm.
have a child with disability or not, like you just get in that drained funk and it's like hard to pull out of. So I think
Yeah.
that is
And you
special.
know
And
what?
yeah,
Sorry to cut you. I was
no, go
just
ahead,
thinking,
please.
we were in the hospital in the NICU for like 3 months, but in the hospital for 5 months. And we had this little window every now and then we'd have a room with a window. But like I sat there seeing her hooked up to probes and not being able to move her at times and not being able to go outside, like not even be able to like leave her room with her because of COVID. Um, so now that we're home, I'm like, I want to do everything. I feel like I was robbed of some of those early months because she was about 6 months when she got home. And it's like, now I have the freedom just to get out and go. Like, I was praying and just dreaming of going for a walk. I was dreaming of like just rocking her in her room. And so it gives you this perspective and reality of like, wow, like how special the little things are.
Yeah.
And so I might be tired and it might be a lot, but I'm like, there were times where this is what I wish I could do. And now I get to do it. So I'm going to like appreciate it and value it to a different level.
Yeah, cool. Very cool. Where do you guys see your future?
Oh, it's so bright. I
Yeah.
mean, there's so much for when it comes to Callie, like she's a little musician. So I see her like playing in some kind of band. Like she loves music and she loves water. So something of the sort with that. But I just feel like every year, every chapter, we're just gonna sit there and being like, girl, like just be in awe of her. So I don't even put any expectations. I let her do it because I just feel like it's going to be so bright. And then for me and my husband, we want to continue to share and bring awareness to Pfeiffer syndrome, medical parents, and just a life that maybe looks different from others and understand that there's beauty in everybody's life. And so we are going to create a foundation. That's one of our goals, is to start giving back to other medical parents that reach out to us, whether it be in the hospital setting or at home. And in that foundation, create educational pieces to bring awareness to how to talk to someone who has a child with a facial difference or a disability. We get questions sometimes on our Instagram and it's like, what's wrong with her? And it's like, that's not how you do it. It's
Mm-mm.
not how you approach someone. And so we want to educate.
Yeah.
And other than that, I'm going to still kind of push forward with Fleet performance. And I have some things I want to start doing and transition to online courses and also coaching coaches. I think there's something there to work with like soccer coaches or softball coaches to create a program that they can implement and integrate into their actual program. So those are some things that I want to do, but yeah, there's
That's
so much more
awesome.
probably. Yeah.
Cool. So when is this foundation happening? Are you guys currently working on it?
Yeah, we're currently working on it.
Okay, cool. What's
Yes.
it called?
So it's called Vital Five.
Okay.
So like the five vital organs that you have. And my husband also has an autoimmune disease. And so his is in his liver. And Callie's, her respiratory issues are very much lung, and she also has a shunt with brain. So there's that combination there, but we're going to use that and keep it going.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, thank you so much for the work you're doing. And I am just grateful that you were willing to talk with me today and come on the Edmonds Moms Room podcast. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This was a great conversation.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
The Edmonds Moms Room podcast is brought to you by Body Motion Physical Therapy. We help women through pregnancy and beyond so they can live active, confident, and healthy lives.